Hey, I'm Rebecca Plouffe, sales representative with Mink Group. I'm here today with Sharon Patton, and we are here to
Hey.
talk mortgages and real estate during COVID-19. How are you coping, Sharon?
Well, it's been very interesting, I gotta say. It's something none of us have ever been through before, but I'm so impressed with how both our industries are handling this, and both people are collaborating like we've never seen before. We've seen competitors collaborating. We've seen competitor brokerages working together. We've seen the banks and mortgage companies working together to come out with solutions. And so I think, yes, it's been a hard and trying time for a lot of people, but I'm really encouraged by uh, the camaraderie that's come out of COVID-19 too.
I agree, and I think we feel that in our industry as well. We have, a lot of deals that were done just prior to the beginning of the lockdown. We have closings that are happening. Obviously, there's things changing daily in our industries. So we've had things from, mortgage changes, changes of employment, even just not being able to get in and do like a proper walkthrough of a property. So the agents are really working well together as well to help kind of ease the minds of our clients. I know this has been a difficult time on both sides, but yeah, the camaraderie that we're seeing working together has been amazing, and even as a community it's just been so good. So with recent announcements made as well, I feel like people are starting to see the silver lining or the light at the end of the tunnel, which is really helpful, I think, for people moving forward as far as their plans go, for sure.
Right, and the innovation we've seen between the two industries, right? Like we've seen innovation with, I traditionally have done a lot of electronic signing and things like that already in my business, but we've seen a lot of that come um, through other entities. But the innovation we've seen even with like appraisers and how they're getting appraisals done, and how the banks are changing their policies to accept those appraisals, that they're not going into the buildings, they're taking, the owners taking a video walkthrough, whatnot. So the innovation that's come out of this as well has been astounding on that level as well, where people are just, the bottom line is nobody wants anyone to lose their home, and everyone wants to work together to get people into their home. So yes, there's people who have to move in this time and they don't have a choice, and it's really great to see everybody really working together to make that happen.
And that's kind of one of the reasons we wanted to touch base today. We've obviously both been deemed an essential service. So we're doing business. We're not doing business as usual. So we're doing things like the virtual showings, the virtual open houses. Everything's being done, even with lawyers now, electronically, which is a huge, like you said, we're talking about innovation and progression. And it'll be interesting to see how our industry evolves after this to adapt to the new normal, because although, and we'll get into the market a little bit, but we do feel as of right now, we are still seeing, people are still buying, people are still selling, people are still getting their mortgages. There are things that are evolving and happening each day to have us kind of progressing forward. But I think we'll really be feeling some effects of this for a very long time, when we're talking like 12 to 18 months before we're going to be really fully ever back to normal. So it's interesting to see the new normal on both sides. One of the things I just wanted to touch base and kind of start off with is obviously the elephant in the room is, how is the market going? So we have our real estate market in our local area, Hamilton, Burlington, and surrounding area. So we'll have our April statistics in the next couple of days, which will really be a good marker for how COVID affected us kind of in the thick of it. The good news is that we are starting to see people are calling us daily, asking about improvements and what can they do to their home to prepare. It's really been a time of preparation within the home, I think. So I believe that we will kind of come out of this. It's going to take a little bit of time to build up again, but we had such a strong momentum going prior to COVID. And I think a lot of those people are still eager and excited to get out and do the move and the transactions that they had planned for 2020. So it's nice to see the industries coming together to help support that by providing ways that we can all do that safely and responsibly. How are things happening, Sharon, with mortgages now? Are you still seeing a lot of things coming in like new business?
Yeah, so I've I've done a couple of like first time home buyers in April. It's really astounding, but it's a great time for them to get into the market, right? Like if you've got a stable job and you're maybe an essential service, this is a time that you can make that move. So what we've seen is and some of these properties are empty as well, is what we're seeing too. Is I
Mhm.
don't know if people are moving to other properties or whatnot, but some of these properties are empty, which means it's really easy for people to do the walkthrough. It's really easy for the appraiser to get in and
Yeah.
whatnot. So we're still seeing that. We're still seeing people renovate, like uh, doing their financing for renovations. Because let's face it, when you come out of this, there's there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to renovate their properties once everything gets back to people are employed again or people are working full time. So it's a great time to get that in paperwork together so that you're prepared when things do open up, that you can go straight to your contractor and say, we are ready to go, right? We are good to go and get this going. And then what we're seeing is really people like the banks working together to make sure. I think a huge elephant in our room, of course, is what if I'm approved and lose my job between now and closing? And we've seen our lenders really working to make sure those deals close, make sure that, you know, nobody's on the hook. So that's been amazing to see that working through, that if you've got a job and you're good when the approval is done, they're really working hard to ensure that that purchase still goes through. So no one's out to get anybody on the hook for something that they can't close on. So that the bottom line here is, you know our government and our financial institutions are working to help Canadians stay in their home. No one wants them to lose their home. We've seen amazing programs like the deferred payments, and not just on mortgages, but on bank loans and credit cards and uh, car leases. Car companies are doing, deferred payments on car leases. So I think what we're seeing is just all of this coming together, saying, we're going to put a pause on everything right now to help people get through this. And I think we're going to come out in the end pretty shiny, because we're going to have people that are still in their homes, still in their cars, and able to get back to their new normal as soon as possible.
Right. And speaking of the deferred payment program, so we obviously have clients that are, they'll contact us regarding what to do or their plans for the upcoming, year or 2 years in real estate. And they're asking us about the deferred payment program. So I know it can be beneficial to some, but for others, it's not. Do you see a lot of people taking up on the deferred payment program? And I also know that if it's a newer purchase, it's not in your best interest. So can you just shed a little light on that program and who it's actually benefiting, and when it's best to just kind of stay away and maybe look at other options?
All right, so I think it's been given a bad rap for sure. Like, it is a great solution for people who cannot make their mortgage payment. That is the bottom line. If you have lost your job, lost 50% of your income, you're on CERB, it's an amazing solution to stay in your home. You're only being charged interest for those 3 months. It's going to be capitalized for the most part onto the mortgage. So that's a very important thing, is if you take the deferral, talk to your individual lender and find out what their policy is on how that interest is getting repaid. But it is a program for people who have loss of income. If you haven't lost income, you shouldn't be taking the deferral. And if you have great savings, then it's better to use your savings to pay your mortgage than to take this deferral, because the interest is going to be put onto the mortgage and then compounded for the most part. But where I wouldn't say is, you don't want to be taking money off a credit card or something like that to pay your mortgage. You would take the deferral instead. That's where it's a great place. And leave those credit cards for the emergency purchases you may have. So
Right.
in that respect, we've seen deferrals for rental properties. We've seen it for principal residences. We've seen all of that. So it is a great program if you need it. If you don't need it, you don't want to be paying interest on interest. So don't use it. Like, continue to pay your mortgage.
Right. And as far as industry specific, we were talking a little bit earlier about which of our markets from a real estate side have been kind of hardest hit. And there was an interesting point that you brought up that obviously it's going to be more prevalent in Toronto and more in the core of the city there. But talking about the condo market in Burlington specifically was crazy right before COVID. I had several clients going through this. We were dealing with upwards of 20 to 25 offers on properties in Burlington. And things are still buying and selling, but we have seen a real decrease in that. And you brought up the Airbnbs. So do you think that obviously Airbnbs are a huge business in Toronto, and that could be kind of what's saturating the market there and affecting their condo. But as far as being in our area, we're still kind of seeing, condos are moving, they're still selling. But what do you think about that? Do you think the Airbnb market is really going to affect us?
Well, I kind of feel like we'll see that in the next, 3 months or 6 months, right? We're going to see it down the road where um, really they're banking on really high rents to cover those properties, right? And then,
Mhm.
so I think we're not seeing it essentially right now as much, but I think in the next 3 months you might see people who they can't continue those properties. Um, but I think I like what you said is it's going to affect some of the bigger cities more. And then you and I were talking about where we think that like Burlington and Hamilton market is going. So,
Mhm.
where do you think our market's going? Do you think it's going to be? I liked your mention of the new spring market when that'll be.
Yeah, so we're kind of looking at it's phase one is being talked about being we're going to get the details of how that's going to happen shortly in Ontario. And Ontario is definitely taking a more conservative approach to getting back to normal just because of density and size. So that's going to affect our timing as far as the market. I do feel like because, like I said, the amount of momentum that we had going into COVID, and then it was just paused, everything just stopped, everything was put on hold, that there are still going to be a lot of people that are going to want to move forward with their plans when this is, in some cases they're going to be expedited because there could be people that are, get me out of here, I cabin fever, and they just want to move forward. So I think if we do see ourselves getting back to normal, that we can start to show properties again in person, that we can start getting our buyers out there into it. And I think we have a responsibility as professionals in each industry to keep the market going. I do think that it's up to us to reinvent the wheel as far as how we're doing business so that we can promote that going forward. So our thoughts are, if we do start to get back to some sort of normal by, June, late June, maybe by July and August, we're starting to see our spring market. We haven't really, we had an interesting fall and winter this year where our market just didn't stop. So this is the pause. This is the pause that we have. And then it looks like July and August, all being well, could be the ramp up of our spring market, hopefully into a very strong fall. So I think that we're still going to experience our industry's, busy time, but I do believe it's just being pushed back like everything else. We're just kind of pushing it back. It'll take people a while to gain confidence again, just to get out and do normal things. So we're not expecting an overnight fix, but by no means do we feel that we're going to have a real decline in the industry, especially in our area. I'm sure there are other areas across the province and the country that are going to be a lot harder hit for a longer period of time. But the reality is we still have so many forces in our favor in the GTA and in Halton region that keep people wanting to be here, and buying and selling is part of life. So I think it will continue. I just think, like we said, it's a pause, and things will pick up, and hopefully we're looking at a really strong fall market with good prices, lots of movement, and lots of buyers and sellers. So that's all we can wish for.
So I agree with you. I think that, the GTA, Halton, Hamilton, there's always been a shortage of housing for the last, I don't know, decade, right? So I think we will be one of the first markets to come back. And we've seen that in the fact that our market hasn't stopped. It's just slowed down a little bit. Now, one of the things that we really like to see on the mortgage side is conditions come back on offers. So condition of
Yes.
financing, condition of inspection, we really like to see that on our side, or of course, because we want to be secure in the financing. So are you finding a lot of that in the market?
We're seeing it coming back, and it's interesting. We've even had properties listed as a team in the last 2 weeks during all the COVID, where we have multiple offers still coming in. But with those multiple offers, we are still in a lot of cases seeing things like inspection and financing. And like, honestly, as agents, we prefer that.
Right.
It's not fun to be in that kind of stressful situation where you're dealing with multiple offers. We encourage home inspections. We encourage financing conditions. It's our socially responsible way to protect our own clients in their investment. So it's nice for us to not have to try and justify or explain why they need to consider a condition or removal. It's nice just to be able to go in and have them. Now, we do see shortened time periods with it. People still want, especially if you're in a multiple offers, but we're definitely seeing the return of the conditions and less of those, it's firm sold in one day. So as an industry, that's nice. It's a safety net for all of us, I think, and it just gives our buyers, especially during this time, my cat's coming to visit, a little bit of, guarantee to kind of move forward with a little bit of protection, knowing that they have the conditions in place. So yeah, we're definitely seeing that. And for me, that's great. And I hope it continues, because I like a good conditional period to make sure that everybody's protected throughout their transaction. Yeah.
Not just as mortgage people.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a great conversation. I think, by no means are we discounting how hard this season is for so many people. 100% it is so hard for everybody. And, we're not immune to it either. We've seen our volumes go down in both our industries. Yep. But what I would say is I like to look at the brighter side of things, and I'm just really encouraged by the amount of industries working together, the innovation coming out, and that kind of thing. So let's do another one of these in a couple of weeks once we've got the numbers, and just see where we stand, and keeping everybody informed. But it's not all doom and gloom. Like there's a lot of great things still going on. And one of my favorite things to watch is that SGN YouTube channel. And I love watching it, because I think this is such a hard time for so many people, but it is bringing out some just amazing initiatives that people are doing. And so I think if, my 2 cents for this is, yes, everything has slowed, but it hasn't stopped. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We will get there. And maybe our industries never go back to the way they were, but they're going to be innovative in how we do business going forward, right? So, I love hearing the good stories, but I think that's, from our perspective, is yes, volume is down, business is down, but we're still here to help you with whatever you need, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's real estate, whether you have questions. If you just have questions, reach out to Rebecca or myself. We're happy to answer those for you.
100%. And that's the thing too, is I think we would be naive to think that we're going to come out of this unscathed. There are going to be changes. Things are not going to be, as we said, back to normal or business as usual for a very long time. But I do agree with you that the way that the industries are reacting to this, and at the end of the day, we are all in the industry and the service of customer service and helping people. And that's never going to change. The need to move, the need to buy or sell, the need to change your life or your lifestyle. People have babies, people get married, people get divorced, their families change, people want to downsize. Like all of those things are still going to happen. Life's still going to happen. And I think that the true champions coming out of what's happening are the people that are continuing to provide and care for their clients. And that's something we both take very dearly, and creating new ways to keep, like we said, our clients safe, our business is strong, and our industry is moving forward. And it's been a pleasure to talk about this with you today. And I do think we should pop on again. If anybody's actually made it to the end, I'm more than impressed. But again, if you do have questions, as Sharon said, about the industries, anything at all, just plans for the future. We're here. We're humans. My cat made a cameo, so there's not too much shine here. Feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to discuss with you what's happening, especially in your market or your specific neighborhood. And we will be back shortly. We do have as I said, the RAB statistics coming out for April, which will show a real true click snap of, I don't even know if that's a word anymore, click snap, photograph, snapshot of what happened in our industry in April. And I think you'll find it's actually going to be more promising than people have maybe had in their minds. So let's touch base on that again shortly. Yeah.
I agree. And I think what we're going to start seeing, just when you're looking at the future, one thing I didn't mention is we've seen this really big wave of up and downs in the mortgage rates. Banks, increasing rates to secure their cash flow and stuff like that. So we're starting to see those settle out a bit. So it'll be interesting to see in the next couple of weeks where we land with rates as well, because, as things settle down, we're going to hopefully get some settling down of those rates as well.
For sure. Well, all right. Thanks so much, everybody, for checking in with us. And we'll be back to chat again with you shortly.
Okay. Talk to you.
Thanks.